all nations.
Hey everyone, this is Norby once again for CTCM Radio, a station for all nations. And today we have another video for you guys in this show that we love to call Special Presentation. The reason we call this show Special Presentation is because sometimes I like to do a special presentation of a new show that's upcoming, a guest that's going to be special to a certain show or a certain subject matter. As you know, I have my show Worship Team Foundations, which is a show on worship ministry and all things in between. And I also like to, of course, I've been birthing other shows that we'll have upcoming hosts for, but we are also going to open up a show that's called Avenue, which is actually a play of words to say AV, new. And this is technically, it is a tech show that basically we will talk about new and upcoming tech things, whether it's cameras or audio equipment or video equipment, editing techniques, all the different types of things, audio editing techniques, engineering, studio work, recording, everything that comes with that, lighting, and even programming on, like, if you use ProPresenter at your church or if you use Planning Center online, anything like that. We'll talk all those things in this new show called AV New Avenue. And the reason why I like to play words avenue is because it is an avenue in which God uses, audio people, video people to connect other people to whatever either they're watching online or when you're streaming. It is an avenue that God uses all of us people that are editors and content creators to be able to make an impact in our communities and the world through audio video ministry. And then the new part of the avenue is basically the tech talk part where we talk about new tech. So today I have the privilege of having one of my friends for years and also co-workers and co-laborers in ministry, Nick. And Nick is going to talk with us a little bit about his journey. He's going to let us know who he is and what is God doing in his life as it relates to everything AV. And also, even in his personal life, how God has been really developing him into the man of God that he has been making him through this ministry as well. So, Nick, happy to have you on the show. I'm so happy that you're allowing us to, dig a little bit into your life, into your journey, and just what God is doing in all of that, And I think I'm sure you'll agree, it's not an easy path to be an AV kind of guru kind of guy, because it's a thankless job, right? People don't really think about the guy at the chair, the guy who's editing, the guy who's doing the sound, the guy who does the lighting or the presentation, the words on the screen. People don't really think about those people because we're behind the scenes. We're in a dark room somewhere, we're in a booth somewhere, we're kind of out of the way, How did you get started in all of this? Give us a little snapshot of your early beginnings of that.
So I started at another church, and first off, even though I went to church as a child with my dad.
Oh, right.
And it was my dad and my sister. And then my parents were separated at the time. And we didn't. So I would live with my sister, and myself would live with my dad.
Gotcha.
And my mom was living with her mom and dad. And she would come over and visit.
Okay.
So there came a time where we all kind of moved in together.
Okay.
As a family.
All right.
And from what I remember is we moved for better schooling.
Oh, okay.
That's
typically the case, yeah.
Yeah.
Better school system around the areas and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. So as we moved in together, and there was one Sunday that I didn't want to go to church, and my dad, I don't know if he was my parents are good parents. They were all supportive of my dad, me and my sister.
Okay. That's always good.
Yeah. But I feel like I was like forced to go.
Okay.
So my mom she would come in and say, if he doesn't want to go, he doesn't have to go.
Sure. Right.
So I stopped going to church. Then my sister stopped going to church.
Okay. It's just a ripple effect around. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So my dad kept going. He kept going to church. He kept praying for both of us. One Sunday morning, my dad was on the computer, and my sister kind of came in and she insisted herself she wanted to come back to church.
Okay.
So fast forward, my parents got a divorce. So I and my sister went to live with my mom, and my dad went to live with his parents.
Okay.
And I didn't really I was at home. I was involved with my cousins and his friends and backyard wrestling. And,
Okay.
I was editing their videos. I was doing their cameras.
Okay.
I was even involved because I liked wrestling.
Wow, that's cool.
And
man, so you must have been like in that era. I think that started. How old are you now?
so I am 31.
31. So that must have been. I mean, what year did you start doing that? Like the backyard wrestling and.
So I say about 2000. My cousin created the channel around 2005, 2006.
Okay.
So that was like around maybe 2004.
And if we have any footage, I'll put it up right here while he's talking to show a little bit of what you did back then, which is amazing. I'm a big wrestling fan. I mean, nowadays it's a little different. It's very dramatic. It's almost like a soap opera for men now. But I used to love watching the WWF and Raw and all that stuff that they, they had these storylines and all this. And I actually saw this movie. It's called Fighting for My Family. It's the story of like I forget what's her name.
Paige.
Yeah. Diamond Dallas Page, is it?
No.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's no, it's Paige. It's just Paige, and she put her story out there, and it's kind of cool just seeing how intimate that kind of thing is, even though it's very public. You become a public figure in these things, and the thing that entails being a physical sport in public, having all the dramatics and all the things that they require for them to learn is amazing. Let alone the physical, condition you got to be in to be able to do all the acrobatics and all the different things that require, wrestling and stuff like that. So this is not your everyday high school wrestling. This is something that is a step further, where you have to show up to gigs, right? And you're this personality. Did you have like a stage name for it?
So, I was involved in backyard wrestling, and so my cousins and myself, we would have video games, and you can pick who you want to wrestle as, but you can also create your own characters.
Gotcha. Yeah, I used to love doing stuff like that.
So my character was like, I guess, I had like couple characters. Like, one was like Hero Nick.
Okay.
Another one was White Tiger.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, White Tiger was more like, I was like all like, once I got into like the character of White Tiger and coming out with like my own merchandise.
Gotcha.
And I started getting into the character. I started getting into like, even though there's like WWE, I started they started bringing back like ECW and all the extreme stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I started getting into like getting kendo sticks.
Oh, right,
And, putting like smoke at the end of the kendo stick. My cousin would light it and then make it a cool entrance.
That's so cool.
I still have like, they're old, they're all beat up. They're like, I think they're like yellow, my shirts.
Okay.
I still have like the jacket I got.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, that's what I did in backyard wrestling.
Yeah.
But
So we could talk about wrestling all day.
Yeah.
Right? So that if moving forward from that, that's a great start to your journey of thinking how you got, to, because you did mention then you edited all the videos for the wrestling, and so what did you use like for editing back then for that?
So back then I was using, I was on a PC.
Yeah.
There was a free software on my computer.
Okay.
I forget what it's called.
Something like Windows something.
Well, I did use Windows.
I think it was like Media Movie Maker or something like that.
Yeah, I did use that. But then there was another one for more a professional look.
Okay.
Because I was able to put it on a DVD.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know. There were a few of them that were pretty good on PC back then. I just don't remember their names.
Yeah.
I'll probably put it up here if I see it, or put some names up here.
So I would just, when we recorded the show, we would record like show 1, show 2, show 3, show 4, show 5, or show 5 was every 5th show was like a pay-per-view.
Okay.
So it was like 1 through 4 was like a Raw and SmackDown, and then you
Okay.
have your special show at the 5th,
Okay.
every 5th show. So I would have all this footage.
Okay.
I had my camera, my cousin had his camera. He was a video editor too, so he was editing. I was editing, put it on a DVD.
Okay.
So we had to communicate back and forth.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like, I will work by myself. He will work by himself.
Got it.
Um,
So you got a little bit of what a workflow environment is about, just starting up doing those things, right, with your family. That's amazing. That's really valuable. Makes sense. So you put them on DVDs. Did you guys sell them at all, or did you guys put them out for people to watch?
we started to get serious like years later, like selling them.
Yeah.
At like we would have like a show, and we would have it at the table.
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
All right. So you put out DVDs, for people to watch, and when you got real serious about, really kind of pushing, that you guys wanted to be a little bit more than just backyard wrestlers, but you wanted to do more. How does one get to then getting to a stage where you get to now wrestle in public? How does that happen?
So my cousin found a place. It started in Belmar.
Okay.
And so he was going, and he kind of paid to get trained.
Right.
And he was telling me about it, but I really couldn't afford that.
Yeah.
Afford that training.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we moved. We were living in a townhouse. It was my mom, me, and my sister. I graduated high school. We moved to an apartment for a lower rent payment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe the rent went up, if I remember right.
Okay.
And my mom didn't really like the landlord.
Of course.
So we moved, and when we moved into this apartment, it just so happened that the maintenance guy was involved with wrestling.
Oh, wow.
He had a place up in Pennsauken. And so we moved into the apartment. And I think it was I forget what day it was, but one day we went up there, and he showed me the ropes, saw what I can do, saw what I couldn't do. I mean, I really wasn't trained to be a professional wrestler.
Sure.
But he got me in the ring, and then at the end of the night, he said, all right, so here's what we're gonna do. You can train for free.
Wow.
But you have to. There's shows that they do.
Yeah.
Every month.
Yeah.
You have to set up, set up the ring, tear down the ring, set up the entrance, to run the cables for the cameras, set up the lights.
Wow, the whole production.
The curtains.
So you were required to help to keep your training free.
Mm-hmm.
That is really cool. Like, you got a real straight up, like, almost Karate Kid Miyagi thing going on here. Because if you guys remember the movie, like, Daniel's son moved to California. I think, I forget what the place was, and then and Miyagi was the maintenance man there, and then they met, and then he started training him for free to get into a tournament. So that's pretty amazing. So you're like a real life Karate Kid, man. Like, in the wrestling side of things, that's pretty cool. So then you got involved in production early on, man. Just following your dream of wrestling, but production was always a part of it. So man, I can only imagine. I've seen maybe some videos, and I'll show some clips of, like, as I'm talking, like, of how these rings are put together and how intricate they can get, and how detailed they can get. Even the things that you watch on, like, Monday Night Raw or things like that, all the pyrotechnics and all the different things that they do, it's a very involved process.
Mm-hmm.
So did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
That was a dumb question from me, right? Because I know that I would be in heaven just to do that, let alone be on the ring and get plummeted, by people or whatever. So you got on stage eventually, right? You started wrestling and stuff?
Yes. So I think it was about like a year or I forget how long it was, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't know when I would start getting on the shows.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was about a year into my training.
Mm-hmm.
Someone kind of saw my dedication on how I was committed to it.
Right.
Saw that I would listen and set up and tear down, and making sure everyone was good before I went home for the night.
Gotcha.
Before actually going to church the next day, because actually, when I actually found that place in Pennsauken, I was visiting my dad like every week with my sister, because my dad would get us on the weekends, and he would ask me every week, "Do you want to come to church?" And so, one night I said yes.
Awesome.
And so, so as I went the next day to church, everybody was surprised to see me. Back that I was there at the church I kind of left when I was a child.
Right.
So it was exciting. I still remember the reactions. But right from the first day, my dad kind of just put me on the soundboard.
Oh, wow. Got you right involved.
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't wait around.
Right.
That's cool. So that must have been his way of kind of reconnecting you in some way to get you back into church and recommitting yourself. So how long from going to church? I mean, was that like an instant, like you just started going back now every Sunday or once in a while? Or, and was wrestling still part of your life while you were going?
Yes, because I would train on Monday and Friday. Those were the days in the evening time at night. And then once a month on a Saturday, we had flyers that we would have to hand out to promote.
Okay.
For the show happening once a month.
Gotcha.
On a Saturday. And then going in the when there is a show, go in the morning, and then not leaving until 12 or after 12 at night, or in the morning.
That's no joke.
And then getting ready for church the next day on Sunday.
Gotcha.
But I enjoyed it.
Yeah. How long after did you stop?
So wrestling.
Wrestling, yeah.
Wrestling, 2013.
Okay.
So I started in 2010, 11,
Mm-hmm.
and then 2013 I kind of stopped because I kind of got emotionally hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And
From wrestling?
yeah,
Okay, there were some things going on and you didn't like it. Yeah. And I think in things like that, if you want to, I don't know, you can speak more into this if you want to, but like when it comes to like the career building for wrestling is not an easy task, right? Like there's always going to be some demands and things like that. So, and the compromises, especially if you're a man of faith, if you really want to commit to the Lord, there's going to be some things that you probably feel uncomfortable having to do, being that this is a public secular type of thing. It's not like they have, the Christian warrior coming out and he's throwing Bibles at you or something, like it's a very demanding kind of sport. So I understand. Yeah. So, okay. So you got recommitted to the Lord in a way, even young, and left wrestling behind. And now we're seeing you serving on Sundays at a church local, and you're doing sound. You're learning even to apply whatever you learned maybe from production before to the church. So I think I met you later on down the line when I think it was interesting way back. Like I think Pastor was on vacation and he happened to swing by Crescent, and he went in and he visited and God spoke to him and one thing led to another where we all became affiliated for a season. And it was an exciting time. That's, I think, where I met you, where we started then, collaborating and helping each other out. I think for a while we were already streaming online. We were doing editing always, as far as I can remember working with Commitment. It's been over 20 years now that I've been with Commitment, where I've done, editing and not just worship leading, but also doing, some marketing for them as well. And web design and all these different things that I had to learn on my own and bring it to the table. So when I met you, it was almost like an instant, a connection, because I've always said it whenever we talk, we have a lot in common, it's a kind of funny way, the way God puts people together. And when we work in the kingdom, there's a lot of things that like I prayed for the worship ministry, but I also prayed for on the task at hand whenever I'm here, like, Tuesday through Friday and even serving on Sundays. Hey, I need help with editing. I need help with somebody who can see and visualize the way I see and visualize on a video to tell a story, and just the dedication and devotion. Now, I know that for many people, people don't technically know much about you as it relates to, your work ethic and how you do things as far as ministry is concerned. So it's been years now that you've been working with Commitment Church, which is a beautiful thing to have, and this is while you were still serving at your old church.
I actually I forgot to mention one part, is that I was around people who were Christian.
Okay.
Like even when I started getting involved on the shows, they would take time to pray.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So there was still some influence there to be able to continue. But like everything, I know that sometimes it gets demanding, and I think you said that, some things happened and you got hurt by it, and
emotionally
and you
hurt.
rather, you kind of just put a stop on it and said, okay, I think up to here is where I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
And that's like any, thing, that we get involved in. A lot of times we may get hurt by either certain people, or certain people have different beliefs or the way they do things, or even if they're even Christian, like I've been hurt by people myself, even while serving in ministry, it just happens. And, the last thing and the worst thing that we can do is put a guard up after being hurt. and not perform as good or as devoted as we used to be because we got hurt. So it's almost like we reserve our best because we're so afraid to get hurt again. But I know that in the journey that we had together, again, I mentioned that we have a lot in common, which is pretty cool because not only in just the editing, and all the devotion to the audio and video world and the technology and all that, but in talking and in committing, like I think eventually you started coming here to the church full time, became part of the staff even before that, but then you became full time here at the church. You're no longer at your old church, but you're here now with your dad, right? And which he's another blessing as well. One day we might have to have him on the show too. But it's really cool to see how much we do have in common outside of all of the passionate stuff that we do in the technology.